The historic, the famed Milwaukee Mile is the scene for race 16 of this 18-race 2014 Verizon IndyCar Championship and could play a very important role in the overall picture of this year. Time now for the opening command.
Milwaukee race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome the chairman of ABC Supply Company, Miss Diane Hendricks, as she gives the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
One key phrase today will be track position. This is an extremely difficult track to make a pass on. The guys who have it to start off with, Will Power and Tony Kanaan on the front row. For Power, he has to be thinking championship. He comes in as a championship leader. He must leave Milwaukee as a championship leader. For Tony Kanaan, he told me moments ago, we have nothing to lose. He said we've dominated the last two ovals at Pocono and Iowa with no wins. Today, we must deliver.
We see 11 winners today. Ryan Briscoe just pulling away is one of those that has a great opportunity, and what better place to do it? This is where he won his first IndyCar race back in 2008. He starts fourth and has a great car, Kelly.
James Hinchcliffe just pulled off. He comes to Milwaukee off his first podium of the season in Mid-Ohio. He was quickest in each of the practice sessions. Missed it a bit on setup and qualifying. He'll start 13th, but he has the highest average finish of all active drivers here, and he's still confident for his chances today. Robin?
Ryan Hunter-Reay's got 3 wins, 2 seconds, 4 DNFs, a couple brain fades, a couple fabulous drives. What he needs today, get to the front and stay there. No mistakes in the pits, and I think he can do it. He's won here 2 years in a row. If he's going to get back in this championship league, he's got to win this race.
And Robin, we were all pretty stunned yesterday at the expression on Ryan Hunter-Reay's face post-qualifying run. He was devastated that it turned out the way it did, and he ended up qualifying 19th. That is where he will start today. Our regular reminder about not missing out on a chance to get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by logging on to shophonda.com. Our lucky winner today is an IndyCar superfan, Bruce Brown from Arvada, Colorado. Bruce, congratulations, and how is it?
I love it. Awesome.
This will give you a memory for a lifetime, and by logging on to shophonda.com, Bruce won that opportunity to start today's race with, of course, Indy 500 hero Arie Luyendyk. Bruce, thank you for your participation, and we urge you folks, you got 2 more times to do that at Sonoma and, of course, Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. All right, as that 2-seater ride comes to an end and the field is getting ready to start, let's show you the Mother's Polish starting grid, and Will Power now with a career-high 35 pole positions. Quite amazing. But look who is in the background. Montoya, Briscoe, 2 guys who have won here before. And Townsend, this is a track where at other tracks guys say, yeah, I'm not phased, or this is a favorite. This track gets everybody's attention because of the complexity and the difficulty.
It demands tremendous respect because the track is so wide and the banking is essentially none. But we're 2x2 ready to go green, Lee.
Will Power on the front row, Tony Kanaan on the outside. It was close in qualifying, but Power, surprisingly, he admitted that himself. I didn't expect to be on pole, but he is. It's the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250. Very straightforward. 250 laps of the Milwaukee Mile. Let's go!
And Power got a great jump, and Takuma Sato checked up the back half of the field. But Power came off of 4 extremely well, and you see everybody trying to get around Sato, who was just slow to start. I wonder if he was in the wrong gear.
I don't know. There was a big schmozzle right in the middle of the pack there, and of course Ryan Hunter-Reay, who we're looking at there, is now at the moment dead last.
Look at Joseph Newgarden squeezing through on the inside, and he likes his chances here today. The Sarah Fisher Hartman car pulls out of the line, goes on the inside of Briscoe. That's aggressive, but that's a nice move.
A great move on new tires, and these first 2 or 3 laps, you've got a lot of ability to use the real estate at Milwaukee before the marbles build, as we see Carpenter work the inside of Castroneves.
Earlier today, Carpenter told us, I like my chances here today. I got a really good qualifying position, and he said, I've got something to show today. So we'll watch that fuzzy Chevrolet.
Well, Joseph Newgarden there was making a good go on Briscoe, but Briscoe fought him off and seems to have got himself together now, and and is holding him off.
Marty, let's talk about the 67.
And since then, Joseph Newgarden has dropped back to the 5th position, but he told me before he climbed in the car, we're going to be aggressive early on. He said about 10 laps, as all these tires have, you have to make a pass in those first 10 laps. He said, I promise, on the start, I'm going to be aggressive, and he was, Lee.
Well, it looks like 10 laps, but here at the start it might be 2 or 3 laps because they've already slotted into single file, and now's the time where you've got to get on your controls, your weight jacker, your anti-roll bars, and start adjusting your balance to be optimized in traffic. Let's go back and look at the start again and see if we can figure out what happened with Takuma Sato.
That effectively split the field, didn't it? Where is the ABC supply car? Oh, Sato almost spun. Got fully sideways and then caught it again.
Yeah, and that's not the way your main race sponsor wants your lead car to behave here, but...
Look to the right, look to the right.
Whoa, lifted right out of it.
That was an incredible save. I'm not sure Sato would have saved that a few years ago. All that oval experience, being a longtime guy in the IndyCar series, really helped him out as Will Power is comfortably in front. And guys, it's not going to take long, especially with the difficulty on the start with Sato checking up the field. It won't take long for Power to catch the tail end of the group and start having to deal with lead lap traffic.
All you hear these drivers talk about, David, is track position, and traffic.
I was just going to say, traffic around here is the big challenge. And of course, being such a short oval, if you get left out on a string like this, too far back, somebody like Ryan Hunter-Reay could find himself a lap down early on, which is not what he wants at all.
There is the DHL machine, and Hunter-Reay said, it's very simple for me today. He said, in those opening 2 cycles, Townsend, I've just got to stay on the lead lap. That's my first goal.
And he'll be incredibly frustrated by that Sato bobble because you come to the line, you're not allowed to pass until you reach start finish, and that causes a huge pack up, and you don't get the benefit of going into turn 1 wide, going into turn 3 wide on the first lap to make up spots. Marty?
Well, Townsend, I talked to him before the race, and as he told Kelly, he said, we can still win from back there. He said, I've qualified poorly here before and come up through the field. The cautions have to fall right for us, but this is a winnable race. He told me this is my weekend. I have to win this race in order for us to truly put ourselves in championship contention. His biggest problem right now, understeer in 1 and 2. He's loose in 3 and 4. You see him try and make the pass there on Sebastian Bourdais. This is where he is loose right there, and they told him on the radio, go right on your weight jackers, save those rear tires. We're going to need him at the end of the run.
And with that move, Marty, makes Ryan Hunter-Reay the biggest mover in the early stages of this race by making up 6 positions from his starting spot of 19th.
And that was a great pass. You saw Bourdais had a little bit of a bobble, a little check up through turn 2. Hunter-Reay pushed up wide to keep clean air coming across his nose, had a great run down the back straightaway. I believe the Andretti cars could have the best race balance over the course of a 70-lap fuel stint. We'll have to watch that as things play out.
3rd place is the PPG entry from Team Penske, Juan Pablo Montoya. Of course, Kevin mentioned in IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, that Montoya is a race winner here back in the year 2000. Likes this place. In fact, Kevin, he likes his chances on the next 3, the final 3 tracks.
They've done a lot of testing at Sonoma. You know he's going to be good at Fontana. And even though the cars are very different from the last time he was here 14 years ago, he said, this car is great in race trim. I feel like I really have a good chance. I asked him if he's enjoyed his return. Oh, definitely. Whatever you hear people say about Team Penske and how good of a place it is to work, he said it's even better, and he plans to come back again next season.
And you know what? That's evident just in his general demeanor. We've been chatting to him every weekend in the paddock, and he seems calm, he seems relaxed, and he's actually enjoying his IndyCar racing.
He seems like he's enjoying it, and he's also his demeanor, I think, has changed a lot. He seems to be very much more relaxed and very pleasant, so that's a great guy to talk to. But his teammate, Will Power, made a great start from pole position and seems to have really got the measure of everybody at the moment, but there's a lot of laps to go.
Will Power really put his stamp on things by qualifying on pole, an exceptional lap to get him up front.
You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Battery Tender, proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. Become part of the race at racetogive2014.com. And by National Guard, become a citizen soldier. Learn more at nationalguard.com. terrific day to enjoy race day with the family, and a lot of the stars you see racing here at the Milwaukee Mile here today have memories of the very same thing, coming here with their dad or mum and dad and watching IndyCar racing over the years, and stars like Ryan Hunter-Reay on the inside of his teammate James Hinchcliffe to move from 19th to 11th in the first 20 laps.
Boy, he is running strong. He's still only 9.6 seconds behind now, 9.5 seconds. He's actually catching up with the leader slightly.
Hey guys, I thought it was supposed to be tough to pass at Milwaukee, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Hunter-Reay's making it look pretty easy. And the stats show he started 19th. But remember when Sato spun on lap 1, he fell back even further. So he is really charged through the field and doing it with a car that he said has picked up a tremendous push in the last couple of laps. That's very impressive what Ryan Hunter-Reay is doing, Lee.
Well, look at it, Marty, in comparison to his Andretti Autosport teammate Carlos Munoz, who started 20th, stays 20th.
And I think what's impressive about Hunter-Reay is that he just passed Hinchcliffe, who was arguably the best driver in both practice sessions, also on old tires. And so for Hunter-Reay to be that strong right now, I think really bodes well. If he was fighting a little bit of understeer earlier, it certainly hasn't slowed him down. And that kind of balance, starting conservative with the front tire sliding, takes care of the rear tires, which will really factor in about another 15 to 20 laps.
He's making ground up big time now on Scott Dixon in the Ganassi car, so whatever he's got, whatever the issues are, if I was him, I'd leave it just exactly like it is.
And now what we've got to watch for is what happens to Will Power's pace and the position of the cars directly behind him as he is catching lap traffic.
Here is the United Fiber and Data car, James Hinchcliffe. You heard Townsend mention he was the fastest in both practice sessions yesterday. That is true, but this is how the second practice session finished. A big collision, and Hinch said it didn't injure him at all. And Townsend, you pointed it out straight away. You said, I think that second downshift was a little quicker than what he was normally doing.
He rushed the downshift from 6th to 4th. He grabbed both gears essentially in rapid sequence, and the second shift from 5th to 4th locked up the rear end, turned him backwards. It really caught him off guard.
And even after being fastest in both those practice, he struggled a little bit on qualifying, but he said the car is mechanically 100% sound. I asked James Hinchcliffe, who still hasn't announced his deal for 2015 yet, if he was feeling any pressure in these last 3 races to really prove himself, and he said not at all. He said his #1 goal is to remain with the Andretti Autosport team, and he said, I think everyone here knows how hard I've worked, knows how much effort I put in, so really, they're the only people I need to impress, and I think I've already done it.
The pursuit of a champion. It's champion on champion. Hunter-Reay and Scott Dixon, the last 2 Verizon IndyCar Series champions in succession, fighting it out over 10th place.
And look at Hunter-Reay dropping his car a full half car width down on the racing line, trying to pick up clean air across the middle of the corner. Dixon's line right now actually helps Hunter-Reay because he leaves a full groove essentially low for Hunter-Reay to work the air. Now, if Dixon suddenly changes his line, that can cause a lot of drama for the trailing driver, but Dixon running well off that asphalt patch, it allows Hunter-Reay to stay tight.
Your order at the moment is Power by just over half a second over Kanaan, Montoya, Briscoe, and Joseph Newgarden 5th. Castro Neves, Carpenter, Kimball, Andretti, Dixon, and then Hunter-Reay. That's your top 11, and Hunter-Reay is the biggest mover in the race, making up 8 positions from his starting spot as we're about to race lap 30 of this 250-lapper here at the Milwaukee Mile.
He's also made up a second on the leader.
And here he is in the Verizon Chevy, Will Power. Got his 3rd pole of the year, and a quick reminder about Verizon streaming. Download the IndyCar 14 app by visiting verizon.com/IndyCar, the App Store or Google Play. Verizon and IndyCar, driving technology. Quick reminder that Thursday at 10 Eastern, Meekum Dealmakers is here on NBCSN as Dana Meekum and his army of car aficionados wheel and deal to move vintage rides, where you can learn the art of the deal with Meekum Dealmakers Thursday at 10 Eastern on NBCSN. Townsend, you were at Meekum in Monterey earlier this week. Did you have a good time, and what did you get up to?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. My first time live at a Meekum auction, and it's addictive. You find yourself reaching for that wallet pretty quick and wanting to make some moves on some of the great stuff that comes across the auction block there. But speaking of making moves, right now you've got a very frustrated Juan Pablo Montoya trying to get around the lap car of Sebastian Saavedra, and he goes to the inside there. And this is what's the tough part at Milwaukee, is Saavedra's out there struggling. He's just hanging on, and the leaders have a very difficult time getting through because of the turbulence.
David, every racing car driver is decisive, but how difficult is it at a track like this where the passing is, even though we've seen Ryan Hunter-Reay make up 8 positions, it is a little bit extra challenging.
Well, it's very hard to be decisive when you have these long 180-degree corners with no banking to help you. You've got full downforce, so the car is very upset by the car in front, makes a big hole in the air, so passing at places like this is difficult, even with cars that are significantly slower than you.
Chip Ganassi's Novo Nordisk entry of Charlie Kimball, last year's Mid-Ohio race winner, has a very special guest in their camp this weekend, and Kelly has more on that.
None other than NBA Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins, who not only has a Hall of Fame career in basketball. Shortly after you retired, you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. We all know that Charlie Kimball, of course, lives with diabetes himself. What do you think about the effort he puts in to continue his career with the illness?
Well, I think it's pretty amazing what he's doing to be a diabetic, to be in the car as long as he's in the car and able to kind of manage his insulin levels, how much orange juice he intake opposed to water intake. He's an amazing driver, an amazing person. We become friends over the time we've been together, working with Novo Nordisk. It's just been a wonderful relationship, and I'm here to support him and help him hopefully win this race.
Right, it's his second time here at an IndyCar race. He certainly enjoys motorsports. Thank you so much, Dominique. Thank you.
I thought those carrots Kelly had eaten the other night made her grow up.
This is why I don't cover basketball.
Yesterday in our production meeting, when Kelly found out she'd be speaking to Dominique Wilkins, she said, oh, well, that's going to look interesting, isn't it? I'm going to be reaching up. A little bit of help. Great to have him here, and I know the whole Ganassi squad was really thrilled to have Dominique here, and his interest. Allegedly, he is a huge race fan.
Well, it's great to get those athletes out here, and I think they really can appreciate the physicality that IndyCar drivers deal with week in and week out, especially in the temperature, high G loads. And guys, we've been running green this whole time, but keep in mind, I'm looking at lap times. We are 20 miles an hour slower than qualifying right now. Will Power's last lap at 1:49, and I promise you, if you're Simon Pagenaud right now, that minimum speed in the corner feels so slow.
So, racing lap 42. Green flag the whole way. We almost had a caution right at the beginning with the AJ Foyt entry of Takuma Sato in the ABC supply car getting sideways, coming to the green. He caught it very quickly and then got on with it. Biggest move of the race is Ryan Hunter-Reay 8th. Race leader every single lap has been Will Power. He has led all 43 now here at the Milwaukee Mile. And a pretty interesting story unfolding behind. And Townsend, the strategists, the engineers, some say 60, some say 65, and at the outer limits, you might be able to get 70 laps out of a run. We'll see.
Well, what happens here that's different than a road course is as the pace slows down, and you can really see it here with the throttle trace on Simon Pagenaud, as the pace slows down and you're off throttle for long periods of time, your fuel mileage goes up dramatically. So if we continue to run under green here, I wouldn't be surprised to see a stint go out to 70 laps. The question is, can the guys hang on that long as the tire wear becomes, almost impossible in terms of grip at the rear?
Tell us more, Kev.
Your mirrors, looking.
And Simon Pagenaud was to the point where he knows what the tires will do. He said, we did a 45-lap stint. It's fine. After that, if anybody tries to go a full stint, as Jack Hawksworth got around him, then you might be hanging on. We're hearing around 59 to 62 is where they're going to pit. If we don't get a yellow before there, though, it's going to be really interesting in these final 15, 20 laps as guys try to hang on in this stint.
So, David, Pagenaud's team, and of course his teammate Michaela Lotion from the Schmidt-Hamilton-Peterson organization, they tested recently, but it was at Chicagoland Speedway. We don't race at Chicagoland Speedway. He said there was a bunch of reliability testing done and just general testing. What benefit does that do for here and also for Auto Club Speedway Fontana?
Well, I think it was more for Fontana than here, but he said they did put the setup that they're going to use here on the car, and it seemed to run pretty good. But he also seems to be fairly optimistic about Fontana with the setup they had there. But it's interesting to note that Will Power is still doing he's dropping off speed, but Hunter Ray, who had done such a great job up, he was only 8 seconds behind. Now he's 12.5. So Hunter Ray's car seems to be suffering the most. And these mid-pack guys, and of course, their tires will deteriorate much quicker than those of Will Power, because Will Power's had clean air the whole race. These guys have been in dirty air the whole time.
Just on board here with Castro Neves working in the 6th position. And we heard Pagano talk about reliability, David, in the testing at Chicagoland. I think what that's all about is preparing for Fontana. Don't forget last year the number of cars that dropped out of that race because of rubber and debris accumulating in the radiator inlets. So I think what he was referring to is testing to figure out how to keep the rad inlets clean for the 500-miler that'll finish our season.
Keep all that clag out the ducts.
Sebastian Saavedra has got a very quick pack mounting, and it has been a tough weekend to say the least for Sebastian Saavedra in the KV AFS racing, and Pagano is the first one on pit road in this race so far today. Kev?
They're going to come in first so they can run a little quicker and just hope that a yellow doesn't come out here in the next few laps. Simon Pagano said, I've got about 45 laps before I'm not certain. Well, he made it to lap 52. Started 16th, 14th before this pit stop. Fairly quick one for the Schmidt-Peterson-Hamilton crew.
All clear. Go get him.
One thing you're going to get with Simon Pagano, besides a determined and very skilled and fast race driver, is honesty. He just looked at us yesterday and said, I've got to admit, I don't particularly like this place. I don't drive that well here. And look at this up front here. This is Tony Kanaan as he goes around the lap car of Carlos Huertas.
But did you see the speed with which Pagano picked up on Sebastian Bourdais' car?
I was just going to say, David, getting new tires at Milwaukee is like getting your braces off. It feels fantastic after you've been out there struggling on old tires. Pagano goes right out, goes rocketing past Bourdais. Now he's all over the back of Hawksworth, and watch how much grip he has for these first few laps. Total confidence.
Hunter Ray is on pit road. Marty.
And the car just so good, Lee, as he came up through the field. The one thing he said, it did pick up a push at the end, but Michael Andretti said, the only thing I want to do is a half pound out of the right front tire. That'll help that push a little bit. Otherwise, no changes on the chassis for this car. Very happy with it. Stop a little bit slow for these guys having trouble on the left rear. That's going to cost them. That'll cost all that track position they just gained on the racetrack, Lee.
Whether Hunter Ray was answering a question, Marty, or not to the team as Jack Hawksworth comes into the Brian Herder Autosport pit, but Hunter Ray was shaking his head during that stop, whether he was simply answering a question or he saw something in his mirror that was frustrating him very early.
Boy, that was a long stop, and I mean, just when you've driven like he did, driven your heart out, it's a killer.
Carlos Munoz in on lap 56, guys, and they were a little disappointed. They were pretty good at the test here. They put on their teammates' setups, and they've been about 2/10 off ever since. You've seen the wing adjustment and sticker tires going on. Kelly?
Scott Dixon complaining that he's loose off 3 and 4. He's picked up a little bit of understeers. You see him, and in front of him is James Hinchcliffe. He's got all sorts of issues, including now a vibration that has started. You see Hinchcliffe now out ahead of Dixon. He's got understeer coming out of 3 and 4, and they made some adjustments for James Hinchcliffe. And now you see the 8-car Brian Briscoe as well.
Helio Castroneves just 5 back in the championship coming into this one. He's come so close so many times. Started 8th, running in 6th. A nice clean pit stop for Team Penske, and Castroneves is out.
This is one of those tracks for Helio where he's yet to notch up a win. He would dearly love to do that today in light of what happened at Mid-Ohio. Here is Kimball.
Charlie Kimball also coming in. He was asking for a turn of wing. He said he's loose off turn 4. As you see the crew go to work on Charlie Kimball, maybe a bit of a delay, and Marco Andretti, who was really confident earlier about his race trim, and Marco Andretti is out. Marty?
First and second place, Tony Kanaan and Will Power pitting here for Power. You see the wing adjustments and a little bit of a push at the end of that run. Kanaan was faster than Power, also faster on the stop than Will Power, but Will Power gets around him there at the very end. Kanaan, a little bit faster at the end of that run. All they did was an air pressure adjustment. Kelly?
Juan Pablo Montoya has taken over the lead through pit stop. He's been running in third, and he gets in a little bit cockeyed. We'll see what kind of impact this has on the stop. They were planning on a front wing change. This is going to make it a costly stop. There's the front wing adjustment, and it's taking longer than they want.
And he just nailed that wheel.
He hit the tire out of the way. I'm not sure if that'll be a penalty or not on pit lane, but he locked up the fronts. On these oval setups, you have so much stagger when you've got to get around a car in front of you. As we see all kinds of action into turn one. Saavedra holding up Carpenter, and Carpenter's working on Hawksworth.
You can see the nature of the Milwaukee Mile, where it's tight, it's bunched, everyone's in a scramble. Pagano, who was the first to come to pit road, he's arm wrestling there with Marco Andretti. Here comes Kimball in the background as well.
And all these guys are on new, fresh tires, lots of confidence, lots of grip, and they want to take advantage of it because those tires will have seen their best in just a few laps. That'll be gone.
And Ed Carpenter is the only one yet to pit. In the background, look at Charlie Kimball, the Novo Nordisk car. Down on the inside, can't quite make it.
Yeah, just sort of get inside Marco there, but couldn't quite pull it off. Simon Pagano rushed by all these guys, then suddenly seems to have locked up a bit. Now he's on Carpenter.
Ed Carpenter's pace certainly looks very good for 62 laps on the tires. If he can hang in there and make it to about lap 65, he might be able to do this in just a 3-stop rather than 4.
Pit.
Well, there goes that theory.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Kimball almost into the back of the fuzzy Chevrolet. That was tight. That was pretty close. Kelly.
We see Ed Carpenter pull into his pit stall. He's been the center of a lot of big news this weekend. He said it's getting windy off turn 4, and he had a bit of understeer. They said they were going to put some wing in it. A smooth, clean stop for Ed Carpenter.
And the big news that Kelly refers to is there is an amalgamation, a merger of two teams. The Fuzzy's Ed Carpenter Racing Organization and Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing. It will be known as CFH Racing. As we look at the pack, here they come. Will Power, who leads this race as he's trying to work his way through traffic, and that's Justin Wilson immediately ahead. Look at Canaan, here comes TK. Look at the red and white car on the inside and gets Power. Nice move down the inside.
Oh, and Will's got to make a smart decision here. He's trying to force the issue up the outside. He gets a toe off of Wilson, and he's back, and he's making a move on Wilson now to put him a lap down.
Is this a championship drive that we're watching right now? Is Will Power a changed man? It's the third time in his career that he has led the championship with 3 to go. He might not have a choice. Look at Canaan, same corner, and Power responds. This is a carbon copy of the lap before.
I tell you what, Canaan is so quick in, but then loses power and momentum halfway through, and Power keeps it wide and high.
And then you've got Justin Wilson desperately trying to stay on the lead lap, so if he gets a yellow, he'll pack right back up. I think Will Power's got to be smart here. Tony Kanaan, not a big threat for the championship, only wants to win today. And Power has to protect the equipment.
Kanaan in his first year for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, taking over the ride from his dear friend, the now retired Dario Franchitti. It's been a huge year. It began in disappointing fashion, but the second half has been very rewarding for Tony Kanaan. He's won here at the mile before. He'd dearly love to do it again. He's currently on that win-less in 2014 list. What a drive from these two men. That was very entertaining. It seems to have calmed down, but just for the moment. Great to have you with us today for round 16 of the 18-round Verizon IndyCar Series. This is the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250. Lee Diffie, David Hobbs, Townsend Bell, Marty Snyder, Kevin Lee, and Kelly Stavis and Robin Miller with you here in Wisconsin. Let's show you a couple of laps ago this dice for the lead between Will Power, Tony Kanaan. This was fantastic.
Kanaan comes off at turn 2, gets a nice pop to the inside, and you see Will Power just takes advantage of the fact that Kanaan's in dirty air with Wilson right in front of him, has to pedal a little bit, and Will Power says, no, sir, I'm going to come back on you hard around the high side.
Boy, he did that once, not but twice.
That was a tough go from Will Power to do that. That was terrific driving. Went high, stayed in that clean air, and pulled it off. So his car obviously is handling extremely well.
We need to revisit a story that involves one Pablo Montoya and Team Penske and his first stop of this race. Incidentally, he's lost third place to Ryan Briscoe in the NTT Data car. Let's show you the replay of what happened in that pit box, and we understand from race control it is just a warning, no penalty for hitting this wheel.
You know, I don't quite understand, Lee. We were talking about at the break the rationale behind a warning. Hitting pit equipment is pretty much a black and white situation. You either hit it or you don't. It's not a subjective call like blocking or incidental contact, things like that. So, you know, maybe I'm not quite sure how they rationalize that, but lucky break for Montoya just to have the slow stop.
So the order, the revised order after that first round of stops, it's all cycled through and settled down. It's Power by 0.6 of a second over Kanaan. Briscoe is running third. He's been battling illness this week. He told me this morning, today, appropriately on race day, he feels the best he has felt all week and likes his chances here. Ricky Davis, his crew chief, said, you know what? We've been building momentum. We don't want this season to end because we're just hitting our straps now.
Lee, Ryan Briscoe, of course, won this race back in 2008, backed it up with a run-up finish in 09. He felt good after that fourth-place qualifying. He said he thinks this is the most difficult oval the series go to. He called it a tough little track, but he also compared it to Indy. He said, hey, when the car is good, it's the most fun you'll ever have, but when it's bad, it's awful. It looks to be pretty good right now for Ryan Briscoe.
Some other big news on that first pit stop cycle is Ryan Hunter-Reay, the three-time winner at the Milwaukee Mile. Watch for the yellow DHL machine. And of course, Andretti Autosport announced today that this driver, this sponsor, will continue with Andretti Autosport. That's great news for the team. It's huge for the championship.
And I think it's a great validation for IndyCar that a partner that started as a small company, DHL, with Andretti, grew to a primary. They won the Indy 500, and they're committed long-term to IndyCar racing. Great news for the whole team.
And guys, the fact that they've signed through 2017, further good news. As you mentioned, Townsend, a long-term deal. And despite that bad pit stop where they dropped the lug nut on the left rear, they are still tearing through the field. Ryan Hunter-Reay up to 6th right now, and the fastest car on the track. Many of these laps where they felt like they were the strongest was the middle part of that run. He starts to pick up a push. They made an air pressure adjustment trying to get rid of that push on that first run, but no doubt he has one of the best cars. Now the question, Lee, can he get the track position to put himself in a position to win this race?
We'll keep an eye on RHR, but we also have to sing the praises of the young rookie Jack Hawksworth for Brian Herter Autosport. It's been a mixed season. As we said in the qualifying show yesterday, it's been a very valuable season from a learning standpoint, the highs and lows. He's had 4 top 10s, and here he is, the 23-year-old Brit in the charter entry for Brian Herter Autosport. He runs in the 10th position and has made up 7 spots.
And you know, you Aussies, Lee, refer to Aussie grit all the time, but this is Hawk grit. You got to remember, this guy's had 2 big oval crashes, one at Indianapolis, one at Pocono. And to come to a track like Milwaukee, which demands high-speed commitment in the corners, I'm thoroughly impressed that he's put those previous incidents aside and just buckled down and gone for it.
Well, what was funny was a little earlier today when he looked at you and he said, you've won here, haven't you? And you said, yeah. And he said, you got any tips for me?
And I talked to him about going big on the start, and he seemed to be listening intently about how clean the line is. We see Huertas with some issues on the back straight, but Hawksworth's done a great job. They need a strong finish to this season. And it looks like Huertas is either slow or just maybe some sort of mechanical difficulty. They've been struggling all weekend, and he stays out, opts not to go for pit lane.
Robin, tell us more about Hawksworth.
Well, you gotta remember this, Lee. Think about this. His dad sold his car to buy him an airplane ticket to come over here and take a test. His manager paid for his insurance policy, so he tested with Ryan Herter to win the ride. Jack lives in a little apartment on the west side, actually a hotel room on the west side of Indy with a mattress and 1 light and his computer. You talk about guys that are all in, that want to do this thing for a living and are serious about their racing. I just think it's kind of cool. His dad finally got to go to Mid-Ohio and see him race for the first time in person. His manager, just everything. The whole deal is, it's one of those old-fashioned stories where guys really are putting everything together to try and make this kid a professional driver.
Well, in this day and age, that's pretty unusual because, you know, most kids come into this racing scene nowadays with a bit of a silver spoon in their mouth. For Jack Hawksworth, he's doing it the old-fashioned way like Graham Hill and Nigel Mansell did.
Power, willpower at the front of this Verizon IndyCar field. He leads by just half a second over Tony Kanaan. Next Sunday, Sunday Night Football will be in Arizona as Larry Fitzgerald and the Cardinals host AJ Green and the Bengals on the side of Super Bowl 49. It's Sunday Night Football next Sunday at 8 Eastern, only on NBC. It all leads up to NFL kickoff September 4th, only on NBC. As we welcome you back to the Milwaukee Mile, James Hinchcliffe, Scott Dixon on screen. They run 8th and 9th respectively. Dixon, of course, one of the 6 winners here at the Milwaukee Mile in this field today. We need to update you. You may have seen it while we're away that Ryan Hunter-Reay has now made up 14 positions to sit in the top 5 after he got by Joseph Newgarden. He and Castro Neves have been having a good fight, and Hinchcliffe is not too far back as well. And here's a snapshot of the biggest movers. Pretty impressive.
Really is. I mean, think 14 spots, and no surprise that 2 of your biggest movers are Andretti cars. Again, I think they've got an excellent balance set up for the race today. As we slide on back to Elio, and I think, Kevin, you've got some more information.
Yeah, he's dealing with understeer right now, and Roger Penske just told him about 5 laps ago, go ahead and use your weight jacker to try to address this. Talking with Elio before this race, they were going to make some more changes. He thought the car was good, but you're still coming in a little bit unknown, and it's so challenging here because it's a fine line for getting it right. Not only does the setup matter, but the line certainly matters as well. Not bad for Elio, but not as good as he would like, Marty.
Kevin, just in front of him is Joseph Newgarden. This is the worst. He's run all day long in 6th position. Very impressive run for this young man. I talked to Sarah Fisher about the merger between Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing and Ed Carpenter Racing that we've talked about a few times in the show. She said, of course, it will help us on the racetrack for him to have a teammate. But number 2, and actually my main goal is I would love it to convince Joseph to re-sign with us. He's had a contract in his hand for a while now. He has not signed that contract. I hope that this merger will let him know we're serious. We want to get you a teammate. We want to be more competitive than we are right now. Very competitive today, though. I did talk to Joseph about that. He said, you know what? I'm going to make no decision before the end of the season. Right now, I'm just worried about racing, Lee.
David, sometimes I cringe when I hear a young driver say, yeah, I'm going to hold out. I'm not ready to sign an agreement that's in front of you. Those don't come along very often, do they?
No, they don't. I never held out for more than about 15 seconds. Somebody said, I'll give you 500. Okay, that'll do. Perfect, thank you very much.
So as we race lap 99, Will Power has led 94 of those. It's been an amazing day for this man's teammate as we ride aboard with Castro Neves, and there could be a dramatic point swing here if positions stay as they are as we now notch up 100 laps caution-free here at the Milwaukee Mile. Points would look like that, from 5 points to 32 in favor of Power over his Team Penske teammate, and then Ryan Hunter-Reay and Pagenaud.
And Lee, I look at this number, 100 points. That's the points up for grab at our season ender Fontana. It's a double points paying position. And I think one of the reasons we see Will Power contesting so hard today is he wants to go into Fontana with a 100-point lead if he can.
Yeah, with a cushion.
So that at a track where anything's possible, he's got a cushion. I don't know if he can come up with that much of a gap, but he's doing a great job to that end today.
On board with Graham Rahal, the National Guard driver, sits 14th. And it's been a bit of a handful this weekend, his car. And here comes our race leader whipping by, Will Power. From pole position, clearly out in front. It was an electrifying lap that put him on the pole position for the third time this year yesterday. And he has certainly been in command of this ABC Supply Wisconsin 250.
Will Power leads at Milwaukee. The second pit stop for Simon Pagenaud. He was the first to take tires, the Firestones, on lap 52 the first time around, so he comes in here again on lap number 108. Clean pit stop for Schmidt, Peterson, Hamilton. Marty?
Well, and Kev, the theory was Sebastian Bourdais just pitted moments ago. He was about to go a lap down to Will Power, as did Scott Dixon. The theory being, if you're about to go a lap down, pit now, because if you guys had mentioned, Lee, those new tires, so critical. And that's exactly what happened. Sebastian Bourdais came out right in front of Will Power, obviously having already gone down a lap, but took off immediately. So they're hoping these new tires pay off big time.
And we watch with much interest this man here and what he will do strategically. Will Power in the number 12 Verizon Chevy has dominated this race, leading 104 as Rahal hits pit lane.
And I think if we look at the first stint, Power went 58 laps, so currently working lap 110, so we'd expect him in the next 5 or 6 laps, unless they're going to try to stretch things out with the benefit of running in clean air. I like the strategy from Scott Dixon and Pagenaud, especially with Dixon after Mid-Ohio. Be hard to second guess Mike Hall on the stand with, you know, the brilliant decision they made there to stretch their fuel stops.
David, Will Power was interesting in his words earlier in the week, saying, I am prepared to win this championship. I have corrected the mental mistakes I made earlier in the year. How important is that?
Vitally important. We've seen mental anguish overcome a number of people in different sports, and he's certainly got a grip on it.
Kel?
We see the young Brit Jack Hawksworth, who's made up a tremendous amount of ground in this race, coming in for his full silver stop. And now we see Ryan Briscoe, who was running third, make his stop. He's a former winner here, of course. He said this place is either really good to me or a little bad. He's asking for a tire pressure adjustment, so they'll give that to Ryan Briscoe. And right behind him, you saw Charlie Kimball also making a stop.
Both the Ganassi cars come on out, and for Charlie Kimball, that last run was somewhat frustrating. He lost 8 positions since the stop after running very confidently and consistently in the top 10 in the early stages of this race as we edge ever so close to the halfway point of the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250. Power by 3.9 seconds over Kanaan, then Montoya, then Hunter Ray, then Joseph Newgarden in the top 5. Here's Kanaan from second place.
And Lee, this is interesting because now this is forcing the hands of the guys up front. Tony Kanaan hits pit road, so the car had a little bit of a push, and they're giving up the part of the run where they were much better than Will Power. The very end of the run, you see Will Power on the right-hand side of the screen, and TK leaves pit road. Ryan Hunter-Reay made his way into the top 5. He said he picked up a big push. Trouble on the right rear this time for the 28 team. A long time trying to get that right rear off. They finally get it on. Ryan Hunter-Reay leaves pit road.
Boy, that's just all he needs.
Michaela Lotion in the SMP entry as he receives his stop, his first ever race here at the Milwaukee Mile. Castro Neves is in, Kev.
Second stop for the Hitachi car. He lost a couple of spots in that stint. He came in after the first pit stop in 5th, 7th this time. A turn of front wing to deal with the problems. Understeer this time for Castro Neves.
Hinchcliffe is done. He's serviced and sent. We wait for Power. Racing lap 116 of this 250 lapper. Just when will the race leader come in?
Looking low.
And just watching the pace of Will Power, he really stabilized deep into the stint here, working about 150-mile-an-hour laps as we see Newgarden hit pit road.
And guys, for Newgarden, it was 4 tires, as you can see, and the wing adjustment, the car, too much push on that last run. He said it was way worse on this run at the end of it than it was on the first run rather. Lee?
This is Ed Carpenter on our race leader, Will Power.
All right, let's go hard here, Will.
That's the call from president of Team Penske, Tim Cindric.
And they're going to stretch him here. So this stint, over 60 laps. And keep in mind, Kanaan pitted several laps ago on fresh rubber. So could be really interesting to see how much gap Kanaan can close with Will Power running deep into the tires.
When I see Tim Cindric on the box, I go back to Pocono, where Will Power was involved in a couple of controversial things with his teammates, of all people, and Cindric's call about, Will, put your head down, get your head back in the game. Right here, right now, today, Power's head is very much in the game.
Slow car ahead.
Here we see Tony Kanaan working on Will Power.
Looking.
Kanaan a lap down, but Power's going to have to pit soon. And this is what's going to help Kanaan, is Power holding him up before he has to pit. Kelly?
We had just seen James Hinchcliffe come in for a pit stop. You see he's back now. They had a problem the first time around. A gun broke, so they were not able to change all 4 of his tires. And you see they're still having an issue with them right now. Just ahead of him, we see Marco Andretti. He's made his stop. He led 61 laps, and now we look at that lead.
Yeah, Tony Kanaan getting by Will Power. I think it's time to bring that Verizon Chevy to pit road.
Now that's actually a pass to put Kanaan back on the lead lap, I think. So Power's going to come to pit road, and I believe Kanaan could have the advantage here.
Let's see, this is going to be tight. Power was just dropping back and back and back, as you mentioned, Townsend, deep in that run. Marty?
Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Lee, you heard the call from Tim Cindric. We're going to stick to our strategy. This was a plan all along. Tony Kanaan right now in turn 3, lap 122. They went the full run here for Will Power. A very slight push. All they made was an air pressure adjustment. Let's see how this cycles out, Lee.
It's Power to Kanaan, and easily so. How about that?
And that could dramatically affect what Team Penske does with Will Power going forward. Stretching them long would help. If they were able to get a yellow, they'd luck out, but the pace drops off so much that I think they might second guess that decision next time around.
And David, that was a graphic display of staying out longer is not necessarily better, is it?
So much for my strategizing.
Tony Kanaan takes control of this race after it has been dominated by Team Penske's Will Power. Power leading 106 laps. Kanaan was so confident early in the weekend. He saved some tyres. He didn't even go out in the first half an hour of practice. And TK, who knows how to win here, is up front. Brazilian fans at each and every round of the Verizon IndyCar Series, and they've got something to really cheer for here in Milwaukee with Brazil's own Tony Kanaan for Target Chip Ganassi Racing leading the way by just under 2 seconds over Will Power, and then Ryan Briscoe in third. Let's take a closer look at the top runners.
And we'll start through the field with that man, Tony Kanaan, who's been in this position before, Lee. Remember Pocono, where he led all those laps, didn't win. Iowa led all those laps, didn't win. And he told me Iowa didn't bug me. Maybe I've matured. He said it just didn't bother me because I knew we would have another shot. Here he is once again in the lead. Behind him, Will Power, and how the strategy is now played out because Tim Cindric pitted him longer than everybody else. Will Power can now make it on one more stop. Nobody else can. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with Will Power as this race goes on. Kelly?
Ryan Briscoe now, it sounded like there was going to be a yellow out. Guess not. He started fourth. He's up to third. He said he really had gearbox issues yesterday, but that didn't seem to slow him down when they got into qualifying. He has been battling some enders here, but he said it frees up in traffic, and we indeed do have a yellow flag.
For Andretti Autosport driver Carlos Munoz. What has happened to the Cincé entry? He suffered some electrical issues, and the team were a little unsure whether it was alternator related or the wiring loom. They removed and replaced both yesterday. Is it something similar that has affected the young Colombian?
Well, he's obviously trying to make whatever it is work again, because he's done another whole lap before coming in. So
hey fellas, I think when he comes around you'll see the right rear. He did hit the wall with the right rear, and that's what happened. That's why he's limping around the racetrack, Lee.
And here we go. We've got a replay for you. This will decipher what happened. Townsend, talk us through. Whoa, that's very simple.
Well, just high offline, and you know, later in the race where we are with all this green flag running, the clag, David, if you will, does build up, and as Munoz got a little bit offline, you're up in that gray in the marbles. There's just no way to recover the car at that point. He washed straight up into the fence, and that right rear's toe link at a minimum is going to be bent, if not more.
Yeah, it looks like it that way. The wheel angle looks like it's bent something.
Now it'll be interesting to see who elects to pit here. Take tires and fuel, which will make one more stop to the end of the race. Keeping an eye on who's laid out on pit lane, and we see plenty of people opting to get set up, almost everybody there on pit lane. So I think this might hurt Will Power a little bit, because Marty, you made the point that stretching of their strategy really helps them to get to the race on one more stop. Now they're easily one more stop, but the rest of the field can catch up here.
So here we go. Watch for the runners on pit road. Who comes, who does not.
Well, quite
Montoya is in. Kanaan is in. Briscoe's in. Dixon, Bourdais, Hunter Ray, Castro Neves, Pagano. Look at the action on pit lane. Here's Briscoe.
He was asking for a tire pressure adjustment. He came in from the 3rd position, and now we see Tony Kanaan.
You see him leaving pit road, Kelly, from the 2nd position. He leaves pit road. All they did was a short fill. They didn't change tires for Tony Kanaan. And Will Power, some other guys stayed out, so this is going to be very interesting as things get mixed up here on pit road.
Well, I think one of the things that really helped was Tony Kanaan, that so many people did come to pit road. There's a lot less cars he needs to pass on the restart to get back close to Power.
And here he is, Will Power, who elected not to pit under this first full course yellow here at the Milwaukee Mile. We'll go racing when we come back. Stay with us. IndyCars on NBCSN. Great view from high above, isn't it? The Milwaukee Mile, been racing here since 1903. Boy, has it seen some fantastic racing, and with thanks to Andretti Sports Marketing for reviving the Milwaukee race and the Milwaukee Indy Fest. And we've got to thank Honda as well and remind you that you can be a part of Honda's Fastest Seat in Sports sweepstakes by simply going to shophonda.com and sign up. You can enter for your chance to lead the start of a Verizon IndyCar Series race. And most important thing is no purchase is necessary. Just get involved and participate. So we're coming to the close of our first full course yellow. But before we do, let's hear from Marty and Carlos Munoz, who caused this first yellow.
He's out of it, Lee. What happened, Carlos?
No, just, having tough laps there, just hanging on there. I just lost the entry, and I went to the marbles, and once you are in the marbles, it's impossible to go back, and I just hit the wall. It's a shame. The truth is we haven't been this weekend in the front. Now to think about next week's Sonoma race to forget, and to learn from this and learn from everything for next year.
Kevin, I talked to him a moment ago. He said, just a rough day all the way around. We weren't very fast from the start.
Marty, I found somebody who's a racer of a different kind and is admiring what these guys are doing. This is Matt Antoine who is from Wisconsin, who won the bronze in skeleton at the Olympics. Lee called some of his work back in Sochi this winter. This is not a publicity tour. You are an IndyCar fan.
Absolutely. I've loved racing my entire life, and it's just fantastic to be here, see everything that goes into it, watch the team at work. I've always loved the technical aspect of skeleton. It's one of the things that really drew me to it, and to see it here in action today is fantastic.
We think we're going to see him again in 2018 in the Olympics. That's Matt Antoine here enjoying the day with the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing Team.
And his run, Kevin, at the House of Speed, the Sankey Sliding Center from Prairie du Chien here in Wisconsin, David. He did a terrific job, and that's a small town here in Wisconsin, so he is the hero of Prairie du Chien, that's for sure. We're ready to go racing again. How is this going to work out? Because from Canaan down, they were the ones who came in. Let's see those fresh tires go to work as Power sees the green flag first on restart.
And Canaan, Montoya, Dixon, all on fresh rubber. I'll be looking for those guys to charge really hard as we see Canaan go to the outside. Easy pass on Marco. He's working Newgarden on the back straightaway, and he has Power in his sights.
Down to the inside at turn 3. Another pass executed. Yes, sir. Look at Montoya, 2 back. He's in the same situation. And now is Will Power a sitting duck?
Canaan, 3 back.
I'm afraid that he will be. Canaan should be all over him by the time they get to turn 3. Can Power hold him off? We'll see what he does racing line-wise.
Briscoe looking good too. Look at that blue and red car coming on the inside of Marco Andretti. The race for the lead though. Canaan is confident down into turn 3. We saw him dive down there twice before, only to see Power come back around the outside.
And Tony Kanaan and Juan Montoya have limited number of laps that the new tire effect is going to benefit them. And this is where you can really burn up your tires, is trying to fight a guy side by side through the corner, but you only have a certain amount of time. You've got to go for it.
You've got to get it done too, because those tires go off so quickly and then reach that plateau level.
Dixon dived on the inside there as well. The second target car, there he is. He is a winner here at the Milwaukee Mile. Elio Castroneves also came in under that caution. How long does Canaan have to pounce here on Power?
Well, I think he's 20 laps fresher on rubber, so he should have an advantage all the way through the stint. But when you're that close behind a car in front of you, it's an added turbulence or a loss of downforce that then wears your tires even quicker. But Power is just working, or sorry, that's Castroneves working Marco Andretti very well. But Power is so good on old tires, he should be able to hang in there.
He last pitted on lap 121, Canaan lap 123. 12 laps the difference. As we look back at Simon Pagenaud, who really needs a good points finish here to stay in contention. Let's talk more about Castroneves. Here's Kevin.
That yellow came at a really good time for Castroneves. Elio was asking just a couple of laps before it, we need to think about tires soon. We really may not be able to make it this entire stint. He comes in, fresh tires. Elio's hanging in there right now, trying to get around Marco Andretti, who's on the older tires. Marty?
Well, Kevin, for Joseph Newgarden, talked to Sarah Fisher moments ago, and she told me we're going to try and make it on one more stop. Remember, Montoya just passed them. They didn't. They stopped at lap 115. That's the last time they stopped. They're going to need caution laps, but they're going to try it on one more stop for Joseph Newgarden.
That's going to take a little bit of lady luck, I think, or else a very aggressive fuel save strategy. Now, as the pace slows down, you do get better mileage, but that would be a 67, 68 lap stint double to finish the race, and that's an awfully long way to go.
You know who that caution worked out for another driver very well? It was Scott Dixon, who pitted on lap 103, and he was out there for 30 laps. That caution came out. He joined that group as well, so it was good for the defending series champion. Getting close to 100 laps left here at the Milwaukee Mile. Nothing between Power and Canaan at the front. A few tenths of a second. On the right-hand side of your screen is Dixon chasing down his Ganassi teammate Ryan Briscoe.
And Briscoe seems to have come into a bit of a brick wall with Joseph Newgarden. Here we see the two lead cars, Power and Canaan. Canaan failed to really grasp the opportunity, I think. And he's going to find himself now, but his tires are not a lot better than Will Powers.
And if you're Will Power, what you're trying to do here is be difficult to follow. And by that I mean you're going to look in your mirrors and figure out where Kanan's trying to work the clean air, and maybe the next lap you take that away, you surprise him, you keep him guessing on where you might place your car in the corner, knowing you've got that big rear wing and the turbulent effect that causes for the trailing car.
That big rear wing gives you a bit of a chance to have a tow down the straight. The straights here are so short. But these corners are so long, and you're in that turbulent air for such a long time per lap that it is tough on the tires for the following car.
These relatively flat corners at the Milwaukee Mile, you'll often hear the drivers describe them as a high-speed road course corner. Is that a fair statement?
No question. I mean, you've got the big road course wings, tons of entry speed, tremendous downforce. At 200 miles an hour, these cars are making 5,000 pounds of downforce. So lots of grip available, but without banking, it does put a lot of lateral load demand on the tires, which is why we see the significant performance fall off on a deep stint.
Well, that downforce, of course, if you were to go down a tunnel and go up the side, you'd be able to run along the roof of the tunnel. With that sort of downforce, these cars would just stay stuck to the ceiling.
And in the background is the ever-present one, Pablo Montoya. He won here back in 2000 and genuinely feels he could still win this championship again.
Back on a beautiful day in Milwaukee. It's been a lovely ride for Will Power thus far, leading so many laps today. Hard to believe that coming into this race, he had only finished 7th. That was his best Milwaukee finish. He had only led 4 career laps at this racetrack today. Dominant car for Will Power, able to hold on to the lead for much of this race. Behind him, Tony Kanaan, who has now picked up understeer on this lap, or the last couple of laps. He told a story about trying to get good at ovals when he first came to the U.S. He said, Steve Horn brought me in, made me test so many 1-mile ovals. That's what made me good. First of my IndyCar career, I was the worst at the short ovals. Kevin?
Let's watch Juan Pablo Montoya there. He's coming. He's faster than the 2 in front of him who are on older tires at this point. And Montoya said, I'm going to save a little bit of fuel in this stint so we can have a shorter final stop, Marty.
Joseph Newgarden back in the 4th position. They keep telling him, watch your fuel number. They have to work on their fuel number because they're trying to make it on that one more stop. Where they've really been good on these race runs, they worked on that Friday. He told me that's what's made us good. We focused all day, Saturday rather, on race runs, and that's it. We never worried about qualifying, qualified well, been able to keep it up front, Kelly.
Just behind Newgarden is Ryan Briscoe. He's running 5th. He told me that he feels like he's really coming off some good momentum and promise for the rest of the season following his 8th place performance at Mid-Ohio. He said, I truly believe we're knocking on the door of a big break, and hopefully it'll come here at Milwaukee. Again, he's running 5th. Behind him, Scott Dixon. Talk about momentum. Remember, he got his first win of the season at Mid-Ohio, going from last to first. He looks to build on that as he tries to fight his way and defend this championship for Scott Dixon. Behind Scott Dixon, we see Marco Andretti. He has 2 poles here, but his best finish is 5th, and even after leading 61 laps last year, he told me he has a completely different approach this year. Instead of focusing on their qualifying trim, he focused solely on race trim, and he said he thought he would be really good in traffic. Kevin?
Elio Castroneves there in the number 3 Hitachi car, runs in the 8th position. He came in 2nd in the championship. It's a real conundrum, he said, for the championship leaders. He used a different word. But you don't think you can play it safe, but you still have to push. You got to stay out of trouble, but you cannot hit the wall. Stay aggressive, but stay clean. Very simple. And Simon Pagenaud running in 9th. As the points run now, Pagenaud has moved ahead of Ryan Hunter-Reay, and he's running 3rd in the championship. Not bad so far at a track that would not be his best. He just wants to be within range when they get to Fontana, Kelly.
Remember, Ed Carpenter stayed out the longest before that first round of pit stops, and he didn't seem too pleased about it after that, saying on the radio, I don't know how staying out that long was any good for us. We need to get our lap back. They've done it. Maybe strategy will work in his favor. He said he wants to go out with a big performance for Ed Carpenter Racing in these last 3 races before he goes to that newly formed team.
You know, Kelly, I wonder how many cars Ryan Hunter-Reay has passed today. Started 19th, worked his way all the way up to the top 5, but they have had 3 bad pit stops. This last bad pit stop dropped him all the way back to 13th. Once again, trying to work his way back through the field. He's had one of the best cars here in Milwaukee all day long. Currently, though, running 11th. Kevin?
Marty McHale may be running in 12th. There we see him in the number 7 car going around Ryan Hunter-Reay, and there's trouble with Hunter-Reay, Lee.
The man who was the biggest mover early in the race and still at this stage is no more. The 2-time and defending winner, the 3-time winner here at Milwaukee, is out of this race.
Yeah, the car gave a big twitch going down the front straight there, and he said broken suspension.
Remember, right at the top of the broadcast, we said for some, this could be a make or break day, Marty.
And remember what he told me, Lee, we have to win this race if we're going to be legitimate championship contenders. And he had no indication anything was wrong. Cruising along fine. Again, he had fallen back to 13th after that last bad pit stop, and then he moved up to 11th. Remember, he had the broken suspension at Pocono, too.
No, I didn't make contact. I believe it's the left rear.
And you hear him saying it might be the left rear, but all he did was, you saw him wiggling on the front stretch as we were going through the field, and then he said broken suspension. This will be twice this has happened to the 28 team this year, Lee.
It has been extraordinary what he's had to endure in a year that he'll remember forever for winning the Indianapolis 500. The upsides have been heady, but the downsides have been just gut-wrenching.
And a really uncommon failure these days in IndyCar racing. It's something we used to see a lot more of when teams were allowed to source independent contract manufacturing for their suspension arms. So the fact that Hunter-Reay's been hit with the same issue twice in a single season is really bad luck.
Out of the race as far as for a win. Is he out of the championship? Day hurt the 2012 Verizon IndyCar Series champion. Let's take a look at this.
Coming out of turn 4. Whoa! And he's in a straight line, and all of a sudden the thing's starting to fishtail on him. It's like driving a forklift all of a sudden. And he, at this point, is just trying to keep it off the wall and see if he can get to the low line. No yellow flag. And I'll tell you what, this is the hardest part. You got to cross the racing line while guys are coming at speed and just try to stay out of the way.
And he was in a state of disbelief yesterday when qualifying just went away from them, and he ended up having to start 19th. Imagine what RHR is thinking now. The way that this season has seesawed for Ryan Hunter-Reay has been incredible. He's out. What a sad sight that is for Ryan Hunter-Reay fans and for Andretti Autosport fans. The two-time and defending winner is out of this race, and that is going to hurt his championship chances dramatically. Speaking of the championship, we're down to the final three, including today, the Triple Treat and the GoPro Grand Prix of Sonoma next week, right here on NBCSN at 4 o'clock Eastern. Will Power continues to lead, but Ryan Hunter-Reay has been a story all day. Let's hear from him.
Out of his car, though, Lee. And what did the car physically do, Ryan? Because it seemed to happen all of a sudden.
I could feel it running rough the laps before that, so it wasn't a clean suspension brake. It was something with the right rear. The CV joint popped out or something. Every time I'd go back to power, it would squat big time, so it was undrivable. It's unfortunate. We had a great start, and that yellow kind of got us, but what are you going to do? I love this place. It wasn't exactly the balance we wanted, and this is probably our championship hopes going up in smoke right now, but just signed a 3-year deal with Andretti Autosport and DHL, so very happy about that. I wish I could have got him a win today. Wish we, as a team, could have been up there celebrating a DHL victory circle.
I was going to ask you, was that the first thing that went through your mind? There goes the championship.
Yeah, for sure. The championship started going through my mind when we got that yellow, went back to 11th. Thought it was going to be pretty hard from there, but we had a good start, got up to 5th from 19th. You know, just wasn't meant to be at the moment, but it is what it is. That's racing.
Makes it even more frustrating with the fact they had such a good car today. Joseph Newgarden also hitting pit road here. They'll take on 4 tires, obviously, and get him back on the track, trying to do everything they can to gain track position, but there goes the one-stop strategy for the 67 car, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of strategy, Townsend, David, chime in here on what your thoughts are on Penske Racing and Will Power. Should they have called him in on that last cycle? Is it still going to work out for the number 12?
I think it is, because they went long on that second stint, and at the time I suggested, hey, they lost so much pace. I didn't realize how far they had gone into their stint, so I think Will Power is going to make it. We've got 65 laps to go in this race. He went 64 on that second stint, so he's got the ability to make it on fuel. Newgarden got 67 laps to go now on a stint. The question is, can he stretch it?
You can see there on that graphic the difference. 12 laps as far as fuel, tires, and the run. David, what about the old adage, the old saying, when you're in the lead and you go under caution, you come in, you keep that lead, you go in, you're on the same as everybody else?
Well, they seem to be thinking a different strategy, didn't they? They had that long run in mind to try and cut down the amount of fuel stops. He's got to look after his fuel, he's got to look after tires, but Kanaan, who was looking much, much stronger on those brand new tires, couldn't make it stick. He's in the dirty air. Will Power's had clean air all day, and his tires are going to last a lot longer, and his fuel down too.
And I think the question is more, when does Kanaan stop? Because I think we know when Power is going to stop, but how far does Kanaan push it before he gets fresh tires? Marco
Andretti in, and remember, he stayed out that last caution, so he's been on older tires than the rest of the guy, and he was getting anxious. How many laps, and now we see a problem, or as they continue to fuel him, they hold him up to finish topping him off with fuel. But Marco Andretti looking a bit frustrated. He was really eager to get on some fresh tires.
Now he's going to be furious. They had an issue. It looks like the fuel did not flow in the line. They had to plug the probe back in.
Race leader is in. Team Penske's Will Power, the only one on the strategy of their choice, of their call. How's this going to work out for them, Marty?
Lee, with a dominant car all day long, Tim Cindric reminded him, make sure you do not speed on pit road. 0 complaints from Power on that last run. He wanted no changes to the car. They put the fresh rubber on. We'll see how this plays out. First time all day long, he's pitted earlier than Kanaan with Lee.
And Pagano in behind as well.
Power there on your left.
And Marty reminding us about, and what Tim Cindric said, no pit lane speed violations as Power comes out with Kanaan and Montoya in pursuit. This is going to be pretty interesting, isn't it? The way it shakes out as Hawksworth comes in. He's had a good day running solidly in the top 10. How's it going to shake out for the likes of Juan Montoya as well? As we go deep into this race now, racing lap 191 of 250 into this final phase, the final stint, the final run.
Here, 5 fast laps.
Here's Castroneves running in the 5th position, making his final stop of the day. The car has not been great, but it's not been bad. Roger Penske has been very positive. He continues to say, great job, keep working, keep working. Castroneves out, here comes Kanaan, Marty.
Oh, you see all the traffic on pit road. Tony Kanaan coming to his stall. Very happy with the car. A little bit of push on that last run. They're going to put on the fresh rubber for TK. They are not going to do any wing adjustments here. There, they make a very slight wing adjustment. The car too tight for him. Big wing adjustment, actually. As he comes out, there goes Will Power around him. TK will come out with a fair bit behind the 12 car. Kevin?
Juan Pablo Montoya was trying to save a little bit of fuel in this stint in hopes that it would be a shorter final pit stop. Let's watch and see if he can get out a little bit quicker. Montoya fast in this last stint. Nice, excellent stop.
Briscoe in the background, his final stop in the NTT data entry.
And Montoya and Kanaan are likely to have a battle on the back straight. Kanaan at full song, Montoya coming out of the pit lane.
And the balance of power has been on Will Power's side all day long. There's the two that have been following each other for quite some time now, but now in reverse order with Montoya ahead of Tony Kanaan. So it's Penske 1 and 2.
And Lee, that front wing adjustment on the Ganassi team seemed to be a little bit slow, almost lackadaisical, the sense of urgency, because that there was the critical time to make up spots, and obviously it took 1/10 of a second for Montoya to come out in the lead.
What's the gap between Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, who takes over second spot? Remember when he pitted a little earlier, it's 3.5 seconds, it's 4.2 seconds back to Juan Pablo Montoya as we edge closer to the last 50 laps, the last 50 miles here at the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250. Can Power hang on? Will the Penske call and decision, strategy-wise, reign supreme? Here's that front wing adjustment on TK. The Verizon IndyCar Series continues here on NBCSN, and the race leader is in traffic, and he is being chased down by his Team Penske teammate. There's Power in the middle of the pack in the red, black and white car. Look for the blue, black and white car, the PPG entry of Juan Pablo Montoya. IndyCar racer, Formula One racer, NASCAR racer, and he returns to IndyCars, and he has returned with a storm. Yeah, the beginning of the year was a little bit slow, but then he found his feet again, and here he comes, racing for the lead of this motor race here in Milwaukee. He's chasing Power down.
And Montoya gets around Newgarden, and Lee, both of us have spent some time around Power and Montoya recently. I do not get the sense that Montoya thinks his job is to help Power win a championship.
Not at all, and there is some friendly jibes that go back and forth, but perhaps with an underside of meaning.
I don't even call them friendly. They seem pretty mischievous and and targeted for sure. But Kevin, you can add on Montoya.
Well, he said he started the year maybe a little bit overcautious. By mid-season, he said, I started getting cocky with the race car once again, pushing, attacking. He's definitely attacking here today. Juan Pablo Montoya is going to have a great opportunity to fight with his teammate at the end, Marty.
Well, and Kevin, of course, Will Power would love to fight his teammate for the lead, but keep this in mind. Will Power has a bigger picture here, and that's the championship. He must leave here as the championship leader and take advantage of that. How hard, Townsend, do you push it if you're the guy in the championship to hold on to that lead when you can still finish second and gain a lot of points?
Well, I think we've seen the answer all weekend, Marty. The big lap in qualifying for pole position, the bold moves with Kanaan earlier in this race. I get no sense that Will Power is about to lay down in favor of a championship mentality. He just wants to win as we see him charge past Marco Andretti into turn one.
And there's one thing that's been in the forefront of the minds of two of the three Penske drivers, meaning Will Power and Helio Castro Neves, David. They know just how strong Juan Pablo Montoya is here at Sonoma and in Fontana.
It's been very impressive to watch him come up through the field this year, hasn't it? Started off feeling his feet a bit, and then every race he's got better and better and better. Had some fantastic races just recently, and he's won here before. It's 14 years ago since he won. It's hard to believe, but still in all, he's going to be aggressive. He's going to be tough.
And 14 years ago, he was battling Marco Andretti's father, Michael Andretti, in the IndyCar series. And if you recall, I think it was Motegi, if I'm not mistaken. Those two guys came together. It led to Chip Ganassi ripping Carl Haas's cigar out of his mouth, and I wonder if any of that plays into Marco Andretti trying to hold off Montoya here to stay on the lead lap.
Well, that traffic has cost Montoya a lot of time. Remember, his win this year at Pocono, the Pocono 500, guess who he was battling? His team Penske teammate Will Power, and you remember this, piece of Montoya's car went flying from the front wing. Montoya wasn't impressed. I don't think the team was impressed, and Will was playing tough, and I asked him about it, and he said, that's just the way I race. It's hard, aggressive racing. That's how I've grown up. And that says it all, doesn't it? That was a tough day for him. It was a great day for Juan Pablo Montoya with 42 to go here in Milwaukee. How will this play out? If you look at the big scope, the big picture of the race, Power leading 187 laps, 188 now make it. It should go his way. Now, was that a call from Tim Cindric saying just be mindful of fuel here?
It was, and by the tone of Cindric's voice, I don't sense tremendous anxiety, but he's reminding them, hey, be smart here. We've got to make mileage, and at this point, he's got a nice gap by virtue of Montoya being held up by Marco.
And guys, what Will Power wanted to know is, how is my gap to the two car now? And Tim said, in essence, don't worry about it. You just worry about your fuel number. That's all you need to worry about right now. Will Power, clearly the dominant car today. His teammate charging. Can Will Power hold on? 40 laps to go here in Milwaukee. Will Power, our championship leader, out front.
The Milwaukee Mile here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It has played such an important role in the history of American open wheel racing. And today, it may do again with the complexion of this championship. And will this be our 2014 Verizon IndyCar Series champ? 3 times a runner-up, 3 times he's had it in his hands and seen it slip away. Will Power has led 197 laps here today with just 32 to go. Montoya, his teammate, is only 1.8 seconds back. And then we pick up Joseph Newgarden running in the 3rd spot. And today, he's the focal point of our Mazda driver profile. And this young guy who saw things slip away from him at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago with a pit lane violation, running over equipment. It was such a savage blow to see it go away with him like that. He has got to make a long distance here on fuel considering when he stopped, but a podium result here would go a long way in ending this year on a high note, Marty.
Lee, that long distance would be 68 laps if he can make it. I just talked to Sarah Fisher moments ago, and she just shook her head. They're going to need caution, most likely. They're praying they can make it to the end, but it's going to be so tight for Joseph Newgarden. But remember the last short oval we went to, Iowa. He finished 2nd there. Today, 3rd for Joseph Newgarden. Very impressive at these short ovals today. The worst he's run all day long is 6th, Lee.
Well, wouldn't that be cool, Marty, if a yellow did come out and Joseph would then take the opportunity probably to pit, put tires on, and then we'd get to see what he could do on new rubber charging through the field. But this is a much different track than Iowa. You don't have nearly the real estate side to side with work to work with, especially with the marbles building. In this triple treat to the end of the championship here, Sonoma, Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, of course, we're talking championship. That's what it's all about. And for this man, who finished 3rd in the championship last year, Simon Pagenaud now slides into 3rd place again, and he is the biggest mover in this field, making up 9 positions from his starting spot to be running in 7th, and it's all about points, and he would be just 92 points back from Will Power if he can stay here for these final laps home. Well, with double points at Fontana and all of the history of DNF's last year at Fontana, boy, that's going to be a race nobody's going to want to miss, because it could all come down to durability and unpredictability at the 500-miler. David, you're a championship-winning driver. Did you enjoy being out front and just racing to that championship, or did you prefer to be behind and kind of be that chaser? What's the better position?
To be out front. Undoubtedly, to be out front. Let them do the chasing. You just don't worry about it. Let them worry about it, not you. So Will Power at the moment is right on top of this whole race. Looked good all weekend. Fabulous qualifying effort yesterday. It was a bit mediocre in practice, or seemed like it, but of course they obviously knew what they were doing, and great qualifying. And it's just, we thought TK actually would jump him at the start, and we saw TK, you know, what, a month ago at Iowa, and he was just awesome on that track, and I thought he'd do the same thing here, but today hasn't run quite as good as it should have done for him. Newgarden, of course, is holding him up at the moment slightly, which could be particularly ironic for Kanaan, because I just can't see how Newgarden's going to make this without another stop. And with that, with sitting in behind Joseph Newgarden, Kanaan is drifting further and further behind. He's now 7.5 seconds adrift of Will Power, the race leader. And Power, in turn, is getting away from Juan Pablo Montoya, now 3.3 seconds out in front of his Penske teammate. And this is what that margin looks like. Down the back straight into 3 and 4 at the Milwaukee Mile. This has been Will Power's day. Will it end that way?
The closing run here at the Milwaukee Mile, the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250. Lee Diffie, David Hobbs, Townsend Bell, Robin Miller, Kelly Stavis, Marty Snyder and Kevin Lee. It's been great to have you today to watch what has been a phenomenal driving display from Will Power. With 17 laps to go now, he has a 2.4 second lead over Juan Pablo Montoya, his Penske teammate, who got caught up in traffic. It took quite a bit of time for Montoya to get around the lap car of Sebastian Bourdais. Now, can Montoya run him down, or Will Power, who keeps asking for a gap back to Montoya to monitor that mentally, to handle that? We'll see what happens.
Coming up to lap his teammate Helio Castroneves as well. Currently lying second in the championship. Castroneves not having a good day. Everybody that's around him in the championships in front of him now.
And Castroneves goes a lap down. Who would have saw that coming? Castroneves struggling on balance compared to his two Penske teammates. And he has really fallen back, guys. The pace is well down in the 140 range, 144 miles an hour that last lap.
How easy will this passage be through on Helio Castroneves for Montoya? Easy. Really easy on exit of turn 2. And Montoya has reduced that gap dramatically. It's almost to the tune of a full second over Will Power, on Will Power, from 2.5 seconds down to 1.5 seconds.
And now Will Power is going to be pleading over the radio, please help me with lap traffic. Get Hawksworth out of the way. Hawksworth not making it easy on Power. The blue flag was displayed that last time by. Will he make it easy? It doesn't look like it going into 3.
Newgarden has to come in, Marty. What a shame.
And guys, it does not come under caution for Joseph Newgarden, but you see on the left-hand side, they could not make the fuel work. He'll be here with 13 to go. Gonna be interesting though, how much can these tires help him out, but he will go a lap down making this stop.
And 0.2 of a second shaved off, and now Montoya is even closer again. Make it more than that. It's down to 0.5 second between these guys. He's got to try and get by Hawksworth very effectively, very quickly. It bounces back out to 1.2 seconds now. 1.5. So this traffic is not helping JPM.
Not one bit. This is the second roadblock he's coming to, and he needs to get around Hawksworth as quick as possible. Hawksworth doing a great job.
Speaking of roadblocks, look up the road. Look at what is ahead for Will Power. There is a line of cars ahead. So if Montoya can effectively clear Hawksworth, this may be his chance to try and get up there and challenge Power.
And Lee, that line of cars is Dixon, Briscoe, Pagano, Aloshin. Imagine if Power can put all of those guys a lap down. That would leave only 3 cars on the lead lap.
Montoya is not getting this done, and the laps are running out. Hawksworth is holding him off. And Power was able to very effectively clear Ed Carpenter in the fuzzy Chevrolet.
Blue flag for Jack Hawksworth. So that is the request from race control, race officials. Please move over, a faster car is behind. Now, if Hawksworth ignores that request for multiple laps, they will issue a drive-through penalty.
But it's all going to be too late for Montoya, who's right behind him. That's the problem.
Well, maybe not, because up ahead, Power still has Carpenter, who he just passed, but he's got Aloshin and Pagano, who aren't going to make it easy for him to get by. But Montoya has to make a decisive move here.
So he being Power, has already cleared Aloshin, the Russian rookie. Now he's after Pagano. Keep in mind, Pagano's in 6th. What a dominant performance from the Verizon Chevrolet. An incredible run from Will Power. Now let's see what the gap is here as they cross the line. It's blown out to 2.7 seconds. Power over Montoya.
Remember at Long Beach earlier this year when Power had contact with Pagano, spun him around, a lot of controversy. Karma works in mysterious ways, guys, in IndyCar, and now Power finds himself desperately trying to get by Pagano to keep that gap from Montoya. Will Pagano give him any favors? I highly doubt it.
They have been buddies for a long time. That relationship
Go to slot 2 and go by him.
Broke down substantially because of that. You hear the voice of Tim Cindric giving Power some advice.
And Tim Cindric saying go to slot 2, meaning a higher power setting, therefore burning more fuel but producing more power to get by Pagano. I don't think it's as easy, guys, as going to map 2 and just passing Pagano.
And guys, Will Power came on the radio, said, what is Pagano doing? And that's when Tim Cindric gave him the permission. Go to slot 2, see if you can get around it, but that's easier said than done, as you mentioned, Townsend.
And it hasn't been easy for Juan Pablo Montoya either, Marty, trying to clear that traffic further back in the pack. He remains 2.3 seconds behind. Here, well, look at this. He hasn't even cleared Hawksworth yet.
No, I think his tyres are shot, and he can't get past Hawksworth, and of course the more he stays behind him, the worse it gets.
5 laps to go of the famed Milwaukee Mile. It always gives us a story. Oh, and the lotion there making life hard for Joseph Newgarden. Trying to get up to that 7th spot. Remember, fresh tyres, that late stop. Joseph is charging hard at the end. Maybe a top 5 could be possible.
Well, he's got all the power in the world. He can use all the power he can get with that fuel in the car, so he can crank her up to some high power. And of course, he's got the brand new tyres.
Power back there, I'm sure, getting increasingly frustrated with Pagano. But one of the hard things, guys, here at Milwaukee is you don't have to be very close before the turbulent air starts to affect you. It's difficult for race control to sometimes understand how much you're being held up, because it's not as if you're all over the guy in front. No. You really start to feel the penalty several car lengths back.
And here goes Joseph Newgarden going past Will Power.
This
is, guys, real quick, realizing the frustration as you see Joseph Newgarden unlapping himself from Will Power, realizing the frustration that Will must be feeling behind the wheel. Tim Cindric said, listen, 2 cars, not a big deal right now. Don't get frustrated with Pagano. You're good where you're at.
And he very much so is, because he's 2.2 seconds clear of Juan Pablo Montoya. Wins at St. Petersburg and in Detroit are the high points of the season for Will Power. However, more importantly, there has been a substantial point swing in his favor. He came into this weekend with a 4-point advantage over teammate Helio Castro-Neves. That went out to 5 yesterday as we see the white flag, 1 mile to go. And now he will be some 39 points clear of Castro-Neves, who is buried down in 11th position and a lap down.
It was only a couple years ago. You would never consider power a factor on the oval, but that win at Fontana and now a brilliant drive at Milwaukee, leading flag to flag. It's been a great day.
Never won here at this track. Will Power wins at the Milwaukee Mile to add to an amazing list of victories.
Yes, I am, man. I love winning on ovals. I love winning on ovals.
Would you ever have thought you'd hear Will Power say that? He marks Auto Club Speedway Fontana, the victory there last year, as one of the most important victories of his career. Now, perhaps this could be the one as he draws clear some 39 points in the championship. What a win, Marty.
Tim Cindric giving Will Power a points update. I guess Will Power's not too bad of a oval racer, is he?
No, we asked him to drive today on an oval like you would drive a road course in terms of saving fuel and all that. I just didn't want to get in a big mess on pit lane with all those guys, and knew he could make the fuel. So, no, hats off to him. Had a great car today, and you know, hopefully he got 2 more races with this Verizon car, and we'll see what happens.
Not only did you have to talk him through the fuel thing, you had to also let him know the gap and all that. He was worried about all the traffic around him.
Yeah, no, he's if you give him the information, he usually knows what to do with it. But it's been good.
All right, very good win for Will Power at Milwaukee, Lee.
I love winning on ovals. The quote from Team Penske's Will Power.
And how about Newgarden coming back to finish 5th past Pagano and Briscoe there in the end? That's a great, strong run for an otherwise difficult strategy day.
Boy, this means a lot. This means a lot for Power. Not only points-wise, psychologically as well. And we're down to just 2 races.
But what a day for Penske again. First and second, and then, of course, you got the other powerhouse, Ganassi Racing, 3rd and 4th. Great run for Newgarden there into 5th, as you say. Our pit stop was just a handful of laps to go and pulled himself right back through the field. But for Will Power, of course, the best thing that happened to him was the fact that Castro-Neves finished down in 11th, so it's just been a huge day for him.
Look at this, clenched fists, pumping, pointing, thumbs up. This one is a big one for Will Power. Victory at the Milwaukee Mile, and we'll hear from him when we come back.
What a dominant day for Will Power. He leads 229 of 250 laps as he gets his first ever short oval win here at Milwaukee today. Why not give the car a kiss? It was pretty incredible today. Will Power in victory lane here in Milwaukee. Let's chat with him. You said, I love winning at ovals. Why are they more satisfying for you?
They just are, because it's something I've worked on so hard for the last few years, so I just love it, man. I really enjoy racing on ovals now, I really do, and I just wanted to win a short oval, and just a perfect day, you know, led a lot of laps, and car was really good. I was a bit iffy getting in the box a couple of times, but man, that was just one of those days. I was really happy to be a part of this Verizon team.
Championship-wise, you now lead by 39 points over Helio Castroneves. First win since Detroit in June. Could it be more well-timed?
Yeah, it's a perfect to start this three-race chase, you could say, and good job, man.
Tim Cindric in with a handshake.
Yeah, and you know, we got two other tracks that I'm very strong on, I enjoy, so just keep the head down, that's all. You don't think of points. I didn't even think of points today. I just put my head down and just felt the car and made good adjustments, and we came out on top.
How challenging was your day? Because Tim was making you drive to a fuel number for most of the day, and then also you had challenges from Tony Kanaan and your teammate Juan Pablo Montoya there at the end.
Yeah, definitely the last two stints we were saving fuel, but then had to go when someone got close. It was, yeah, just juggling act, but you know, the guys got it perfect with the strategy, and just awesome to be in victory lane.
Best car you've ever had in an oval?
No, Texas was bloody awesome last year at Fontana, at Pocono this year. I mean, I've been really on top of the setups, and the engineering's been great, so just got to keep moving forward, man.
We all said all week long, someone's going to step up as the championship contender. I think Will Power made that step today, Kelly.
Juan Pablo Montoya picks up his 4th podium of the season. Remember, he won here back in the year 2000. Juan, it looked like you were putting on a late charge there on Will Power, but was it the lap traffic that killed it?
Yeah, it's just hard. You know, these cars are so aerosensitive, and it's just here is just one line, so you're kind of screwed. We struggled with a lot of stability early in the race, and you know, everybody at this PPG Chevy today did a really good job, and I was kind of disappointed. In a way, I mean, we made a couple of mistakes early. I made a mistake on a pit stop. I just came in a little too hot. And then at the end, you know, did it right, and it worked really well, you know, finished at 1-2, and it's good for the championship.
Yeah, you're still alive in that championship. 2 races to go, though. Do you think there's any stopping your teammate Will Power?
I mean, he deserves it, you know. Helio deserves the championship as well, but, you know, both have been really close. I think, you know, both has been a bit of a heartbreak, so it's hard to say which one, you know, but Will's doing what it takes right now to win the championship, so good for him.
Thank you, Juan. Kevin?
Well, listening to the scanner for Helio Castroneves, who's still a second in the championship, 39 back, I can tell you were dealing with a difficult race car at the end.
I tell you what, Hitachi's car was consistent. Unfortunately, turn 3 and 4 was where I'm having most of the problems. And if I finish without crash today, that means a good day. I was having a hard, yeah, you can see every time the car pushed and I couldn't turn, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, boy. Yeah, that was a good one. And I thought that's it, that was over. But very difficult turn 3 and 4 for me. The 1 and 2 actually wasn't bad, but unfortunately you have two more corners. But good job, the Verizon car from Will Power and Juan Pablo. Well, there's still 2 more races to go. A lot of points in the game. We've got to keep pushing.
And it's 2 places you've been pretty good at. You've won at Sonoma. You still got a chance, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, remember, it's 100 points. We're 39 behind. Still a lot of race to go. Yes, it hurts a little bit, but we can go back.
I think the word for the day for Helio is he survived, coming home 11th.
And most importantly, he is still very much in the running. However, when we came into this 16th round with 13 drivers still mathematically possible to win the championship, that has been cut more than half. Only down to Dixon now are in with a chance of winning this championship. So we will see how it works out from 5 points to 39. Pagano leapfrogs Ryan Hunter-Ray to 3rd. Montoya maintains his position in 5th, and Dixon 6th, but they are a greater distance behind in points. We're far from being done here in Milwaukee. More after this. Growing up in Queensland, Australia, race winner Will Power watched IndyCar legends like Bobby Rahal race on the streets of Surfers Paradise. Well, guess what? Today, Power, with his 24th career win, ties Bobby Rahal for 16th on the all-time wins list. What a special day. Could it be the day that propels him to a championship? He put on a good race and he put on a good fight with guys like Tony Kanaan, who's standing by with Marty.
Yeah, and Lee, the teammates finished third and fourth. TK finishes third. Scott Dixon finishes fourth. We'll start with you. And I said it looked like for much of this race, you're the only guy who had a car who could keep up with Will Power. And you said, I don't think I ever was able to keep up with Will Power.
I was able to keep up in the beginning, but then towards the end, when the track got better, he was really strong. So on that restart, when I passed Marco and Newgarden, I got behind him and I couldn't pass him, and I had better tires than him, and I said, if nothing goes wrong with him today, I don't think we can win. And, you know, I got to thank Target, Huggies, and Chevrolet for a good car, but today we didn't have it.
It was some fun racing, though, with you and Will, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, it's always fun to race up front and, you know, get a podium, but, you know, I would rather have the win. Yeah, look at that.
There you go. That's tight.
That's nice. You know, we're giving each other room. We're not hitting each other.
Wait. Dixon, you got a comment on that?
Yeah, I thought you would have run him high there, man.
I'm glad you didn't. But, hey, fourth podium in the last 5 races for TK. Very impressive. So,
yeah, we're being strong. So, you know, still we got to finish ahead to try to win a race, and that's what we're doing. It's just a little frustrating we haven't won yet.
All right, let's talk to your teammate, Scott Dixon. And you told me you only had 10 minutes of fun today. Why?
Well, no, I mean, like, you know, in the middle part there, we actually split up one of the stints and went new tires when everybody was kind of on the ragged edge. And I think that's where we made probably 5 or 6 spots. You know, the car was super fast. It was just a track position race. You know, my fault and a little bit with the team with qualifying that we had too much understeer and had to start 11th because we had a fast car. I think if we, you know, started near the front, we would have been right up there. But definitely, you know, tough conditions today. It was very hard to run 2 different lines and pass slower cars, and that kind of backed you up into the spot you were. So, you know, hopefully we can improve on that for next year and have a good race here. But it's great to see so many people here at Milwaukee.
You're still mathematically in the championship hunt at 2 racetracks where you're pretty good. Got a shot?
Yeah, I might need a few media things coming out of nowhere to land on the 12 car, and maybe he'll get sick or something. He can't race the last 3 races, but we'll do our best and hopefully do the best we can for Team Target and get some victories here, more victories before the end of the season.
3rd and 4th for the Ganassi boys today. Kelly?
Marty, it was a pretty dramatic finish for Joseph Newgarden. Running 3rd, he had to pit for that last splash of fuel. You came out 11th, Joseph, and now here you are coming away with a top 5 finish. What will you take away from this race?
Well, I think I'll take away that top 5 is not too shabby. I'm actually happy that we still salvaged a 5th place. You know, a podium would have been great. It's not the win, but a podium I think would have been great for this weekend. We were strong all through practice. We worked really hard for this result. We had a good practice here a month ago. We came and tested, and just looking forward to having good results on the year end. You know, we wanted to be strong here. We want to be strong in Sonoma, and then we want to be strong in Fontana just to end 2014 well. And you know, it was a tough day. I mean, it was hard. It was so difficult, I think, for everyone to try and follow close, especially once the tires ran off. It was just difficult to get by anyone, really. So, you know, we took a gamble at it. Didn't work out, but at least we salvaged that 5th place.
How much confidence are you gaining? We've seen you run up front before, but, you know, you're trailing guys like Juan Pablo Montoya and Will Power and holding off guys like Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon. That's just got to kind of give you a boost every time it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's been there all along. I've always believed in our speed in this team. It's tough. You can chase your tail pretty quickly on a one-car operation, and I don't think that's necessarily been the big hindrance, but it is tough. It's very difficult to try and keep moving forward, you know, each year, and I think we've done that this year. You know, looking at our 3rd year together, I think we've made big strides in what we're doing as a group. We all understand each other a lot better, so that continuity has built for us. And you know, for sure, I have confidence. Everywhere we go, I feel confident that we're going to be fast and that we're going to be able to contend. And, you know, for us right now, we just got to keep knocking on the door. We were knocking on the door here. We knocked on the door at Mid-Ohio. And, you know, we just hope to go to Sonoma and Fontana and keep knocking on it.
All right, 5th top 10 for the young American.
Yeah, and Kelly, it's consecutive top 5s on ovals. Iowa and here. Time for a selfie. JPM, TK, and Power. Where are we standing? Where are we standing? I'm in the middle. I won this race. And he also got a congratulatory kiss from wife Liz. Great stuff. The list of IndyCar winners here at the Milwaukee Mile really is an honor roll of motorsport greats, and now Will Power adds his name to that list with his third win of this season. Celebrating on the podium. So we know who are the top three, and there they are with big smiles. But let's have a look at the results for you from the ABC Supply Wisconsin 250 and highlight a few others. We just heard from Joseph Newgarden. It was a very important result for 7th, Simon Pagenaud, his teammate, the rookie Aloshin, and then another rookie in Jack Hawksworth, who finished just behind Ed Carpenter. Some very solid driving performances there. And a man who would have liked to have been on the podium, but I think 6th is still pretty good considering how ill he was yesterday, Kev, Ryan Briscoe.
He had a good race car all day long, just misses getting in the top 5 with a 6th place position. What was your day like?
Long day. You know, it was really fun out there for about 4 laps on new tyres each stint, and then they just drop off big time, and the car would get really loose, especially in traffic, so it made passing really difficult. But we hung in there, you know, top 5 all day long. Just missed out on the last lap with Newgarden there, but great job by the whole team. Great job by Chevrolet locking out the podium, and yeah, just really happy to get a solid result. I'm dying for a win. Hopefully we can do it in the last 2 races.
5th top 10 in the last 7 for Ryan Briscoe, Marty.
Kevin, Simon Pagenaud finishes 7th. You told me some days 7th is not a bad thing. Is this one of those days?
Yeah, I think it was a good day for us. You know, we had an issue in qualifying, and 16th here at Milwaukee is it's tough to come. It's tough to make it happen. So, you know, there wasn't many yellows, so not many opportunities to pass on restart, but the car was really good, and we managed to climb our way forward. The guys did a fantastic job in the pits, which really helped me. But we had a really good car today, and you know, we took a different direction with setup, and it worked out really well.
92 points back. Sonoma is one of his best racetracks, and they've worked hard on Fontana. Championship still within reach. Lee?
Even though it wasn't a podium, Marty, I think sometimes these are the days that you look at it and you say, yeah, that was the one that really did it for me. Just to get that performance in the top 10 did very well. David Hobbs, sadly, this is your last Verizon IndyCar Series event with us this year. You're off to F1. We're off to F1 again next week for the Belgian Grand Prix. But what do you take away from today? And after today, what are your views on the remaining 2 races in the championship?
Well, I think we saw yet another fantastic race from the Milwaukee Mile. Will Power was absolutely dominant all weekend. And yeah, a good run from Montoya, but everybody had so much trouble with those tires going off, and Will Power drove through it all absolutely impeccably. For the championship, well, he's looking very, very strong, isn't he? I mean, he likes Fontana and he likes Sonoma coming up. And of course, there's those double points coming up for that last race. So it could be a run to the finish, but boy, oh boy, unless things go badly wrong for Power, hard to see how he's not going to win it.
And Townsend, how about for you? Where does this sit in the scope of the championship, big picture-wise?
Well, for me, it's the perfect day for Will Power. It's the kind of day that he likes, which is that he leads flag to flag. He makes aggressive but calculated moves, and I think it's a celebration of everything he's learned in IndyCar, the hardship the last couple of seasons. This could be his year.
And like we said a little earlier with that radio transmission, I love winning on ovals. Did any of us ever think we would have the road race specialist, Will Power, say that? The Verizon IndyCar Series continues on NBCSN next Sunday, and we'd love you to be with us. It's 4 o'clock Eastern for the GoPro Grand Prix of Sonoma. There are only 2 races left in this championship, and it's still wide open with the final 6. The top 6 guys can still win it. Let's send you now to the Atlanta Athletic Club for the conclusion of the U.S. Amateur Championship.